Mark Mulvaney back for game number 2 of the Houston Winter National Showcase from December 29, 2012. The red team will take on the teal team. Kirsten Thomas will be in the circle for the teal team. Thomas, a 2014 pitcher, outfielder out of Houston, Texas. Her older brother Dylan, a 4th-round draft pick from the Colorado Rockies in 2011. Erica Berman, a 2013 catcher from Maypearl, Texas, will be behind the plate. And Alexis Nixon will lead it off for the red team to start game number 2. Thomas had one of the better velocities that we saw in the fall schedule, as Nixon's late on that pitch. Thomas topped out at 64 miles per hour in Houston. Definitely looks like a two-way player at the next level. Well above average outfielder. Still a little bit raw in the circle. But if you take the combination of athleticism and instincts in the circle, if you project those out with solid everyday repetitions under a good staff, she's got a lot to project on the pitching side. Katie Burdick will be up next for the red team. Burdick mainly playing second base today. If you watch Berman behind the plate, one of the issues that she can have, especially with a pitcher that she's never caught before, like Thomas, throwing 63 to 64 miles per hour, is she sets up a little sideways to her target. Makes it a little bit more difficult to block the ball on the inside half of the plate. Abby Poe with the play at third base. Poe was a 2012 All-American with Fastpitch Scouting Report. You'll see Poe today at third base and at second. She profiles out several points higher on her scouting index at second base, partly because she's a left-handed hitter and slapper, which we typically see more of those in the middle infield than we do the corners at the next level. Poe coming off a knee injury, which has not affected her speed. As a matter of fact, in Austin just a few weeks prior, still less than 9 months removed from a knee injury, she ran the same home to first base time that she had run as her previous high. And there haven't been any signs of Poe losing any mobility, left or right, forwards or backwards. Haven't seen any hangover effect to the knee injury in regards to that either. Karen Tennis at the plate for the red team. Abby Poe is even up to 65 miles per hour recently. Sydney Springfield over at first base. Travel teammate J.C. Allen playing second base alongside her. And to go back to Abby Poe just for another moment, the thing about Poe is that when coaches typically see players that are the size of Poe, they're obviously going to look at her as a corner infielder and wish her was a little bit more size there. But the fact is, if Poe was 3 or 4 inches taller, what we would hope to accomplish by that is just a little bit more length and leverage at third base that might see the arm strength climb to 70 miles per hour, when in fact there's third basemen that play at the major Division I level that aren't touching 65 miles per hour like Abby Poe is currently. So one of the things that we have to talk to coaches about a lot is when you're looking at physical tools and size of an athlete, look at the physical tools and look at the objective data such as arm strength or raw running times or raw power. Look at that information first. If all other things are equal, it doesn't really matter if a kid's 5'11" or 5'7", because what we're trying to get out of the kids are the maxed out physical tools for that position. Melissa Rodriguez steps in. 2014 outfielder out of San Antonio, Texas. Rodriguez, a slap-only prospect. As Tennis takes the open base at second. Berman and Thomas still having an issue of getting on the same page with one another. And it makes a lot of sense after bouncing several balls in to go to the screwball where we can try to elevate something to make sure that we're taking the pressure off of a catcher to have to block a ball with runners at second and third right now. Paige Tossie at the plate. Karen Tennis at second base. Alexis Nixon, the lead runner, at third base. 2 outs here in the top of the first. That's the second time that we've seen Thomas go to the changeup and just hang on to it a little bit. May not have been a bad thing since we were only going to speed up Tossie's bat, who was a little bit late on the first pitch. And that's one of the things the catchers are here to learn in the showcase, that they can recognize that we want to slow a hitter's bat down if possible, and we never want to speed it up. And in that situation, the changeup only would have sped up the bat of Tossie. And after a little bit of trouble early on, Thomas is able to pitch out of it, and we'll go to the bottom of the first. '16 pitcher out of Katy, Texas, Ashley Creasel, will get the start for the red team here in the bottom of the first. '2012 All-American Abby Poe to lead it off. Poe typically very patient at the plate. In the last year, we've seen Abby transition over from a switch hitter to only swinging from the left side. Poe's doing a much better job now of actually swinging away from the left side. Will still slap a little bit more in games than swing away, but either way has pretty good 1-2 hole type instincts at the plate. Burdick in at second. Parker deep at first. And that time the shift works out pretty good for the red team. Around the infield will be Cynthia Hoff at third base, Miranda Holguin at shortstop, Katie Burdick at second base, and Hannah Parker at first. Alexis Nixon handles the catching duties, and Ryder Reed steps up for her first at bat of the day. Rider of 2015 out of Plano, Texas, an outfielder. As you look at Spring High School again, a very deep park. Outfield's able to play in a little bit today. Pretty good wind coming in from the north, which is right in the hitter's face. And when the sun comes out today, we're struggling to get into the 50-degree range. A little cooler than normal for Houston, Texas this time of year. Cynthia Hoff making a play at third base. Hoff will play both corners today. Solid hitting prospect out of Grapevine, out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And Sydney Springfield, a 2016 first baseman out of Flower Mound, Texas, will now hit. Springfield currently in the top 20 of the Fastpitch scouting report, top 100. Springfield will see time at first base and third base today. Primarily is looking to play first base at the next level. Profiles out there. Really good size, really good height. And we've seen a couple of issues in the outfield already. And the Till pitcher, Kirsten Thomas, will step to the plate. Pretty dangerous 3-4 combination here with Springfield and Thomas. Thomas probably had one of the better right-handed batting practice sessions today. Was one of a handful of kids that really challenged to hit home runs in batting practice today with the north wind, a combination of cold air and north wind and a really big field. One of the things we really like about Thomas is in Houston, she was a little bit A to B with her swing and really wasn't staying on plane very well. But as we look at the game swing, she's able to stay through the zone a little bit better than we first anticipated. Puts good backspin on the ball, has good carry. As you see, obviously has the physical stature to be a power hitter at the next level. And Creasel obviously showing a lot of respect there to Thomas, not really challenging her a ton. When we run into those situations in our showcase games, one of the things that we do at regional showcases is that we actually do not allow players to walk. We start counts over. We start in 2-1 counts and we start over. Today, if a player walks more than twice, We'll give them an extra pitch, and we'll make sure that we're not seeing players walk 3 and 4 times. Erica Berman steps in at the plate. Berman handling the catching duties for Kirsten Thomas. Berman will catch every inning for the Till team today. She's an unsigned 2013 catcher out of Maypearl, Texas. Behind the plate, Berman shows good arm action. She's fairly accurate. Low 60s with the velocity. Does have the ability to swing the bat with some above average power. Defensively, she's a little bit more of a thrower than she is a receiver right now. Most of that probably just due to being a little raw behind the plate. Should refine those actions a little bit. And Berman's down on strikes. We'll head to the top half of the second inning. And Kirsten Thomas will be back on for her second inning of work. Hannah Parker will lead it off for the red team. Parker swung the bat well so far today. Towards the end of game 1, Parker hit a really hard double down the right field line. Thomas already looking more fluid in her second inning of work. Probably some discussions between Thomas and Berman to talk about what they want to throw in certain counts and how they want to approach things. As you see the workflow already improving between those two players. Abby Poe at third base, Lindsay Taylor at short, J.C. Allen at second, Cindy Springfield at first base. And Abby Poe hauls it in for the first out of the inning. Mackenzie Jones for the red team will step in. And just a little bit different in the delivery, the last 2 pitches versus the at-bat to Parker. And the first 2 pitches of this at-bat, it looks like Thomas gets a little tight again. Starts really trying to muscle up and throw the ball hard. That last pitch looks like she tried to spin it, stayed loose, stayed long. Did the same thing there. And obviously in these situations, it's really hard for pitchers not to want to throw hard and put up good velocity readings and things like that. But as you see the results, as soon as she gets relaxed and allows herself to spin the ball, she throws it to a spot where not a lot of people are going to be able to hit that pitch. And a good sign there is that's the pitch that Mackenzie Jones probably hits better than any other pitch. And Thomas is able to overpower her there. And now Thomas even starting Cullens off with the screwball in. You can see it's diving very well. Gets in on the hands of Cullens, which is a tough thing to do. Cullens does handle plus velocity well. one of these velocity matchups we'd like to see with players that are graded out very high. And it's not so much the actual swing improving or seeing things that change. A lot of times it's just how early they recognize things and how early they show the ability to start trying to get on plane and make decisions. And then we try to factor that in with their actual mechanics and how much those change during the game. Because a lot of times we're looking at hitters that hit the ball extremely well in batting practice, and then they come out in games and there's an entirely different swing, which of course is why we have to see them in batting practice and in games to see what actually changes or not. Caroline Cullen's one of the players that you probably don't appreciate in batting practice. She hits the ball hard, gets some pretty good carry, hits hard line drives, but you can't see in batting practice the way that she really battles and really is focused on every pitch, doesn't give away any at-bats. Has an ability to spoil a lot of pitches late. And Lindsey Taylor that you see at shortstop, same type of player that in a workout situation doesn't always blow you away, but when you see Lindsey playing a game situation, you see why she belongs out here today. Just makes plays at shortstop. And as we talked about in the first game, Cullen's developing those leadoff type instincts where she's going to hit for where she's going to get on base at a high percentage because she's been a left-handed hitter for so long and just has those instincts kind of in her. Everything's really ingrained in her about getting on base, seeing a lot of pitches, being able to foul pitches off as necessary. And a good piece of hitting with 2 strikes, able to make sure that she's staying short enough to where she's not going to be susceptible to the rise ball. And now the interesting thing with the catcher that throws the ball well behind the plate, plus good velocity coming in from Thomas, is how likely is Cullen's going to be to try to steal a base in this situation. Good job of Cullen's there by reading where the shortstop's going to be and making an angle to the back of the bag. You see that she was able to adjust that a little bit late as she saw Lindsey Taylor going to the front of the bag to receive the ball. Oftentimes we'll see base stealers just go to the back part of the bag just because that's what they've been taught to do. Looks like Cullen's actually read that off of the shortstop and then adjusted her route to try to create as much separation between the shortstop and where she was going to make contact with the bag as late as possible. Cullen's a low 2.6 runner, so she does have the speed to steal third base as well. And that whole play right there is predicated on the changeup. When Cullen's reads the changeup, she takes a secondary lead. When that secondary lead continues without the catcher checking her or the pitcher checking her, she just picks her momentum back up and goes back to third base with it. And when you see things like that, you really feel good about Cullen's batting in front of somebody that's got an ability to hit a lot of doubles in front of a 3-hole, because she's going to be able to read the off speed and take good secondary leads and be able to score on doubles. As we head to the bottom of the second, we're still scoreless here in game number 2. Ashley Creasel from Katy, Texas will be back on for her second inning of work in the red team's second game. JC Allen will lead it off for the Teal team. JC's a 2016 out of Byron Nelson High School. She's from Roanoke, Texas. Allen currently playing for a 16 and under Texas Glory team. One of the better looking young teams in the Dallas-Fort Worth area this year. And she's able to rip a double down the left field line past the reach of Hoff at third. And with JC, one of the things you like about the swing is the ability to actually clear space on the inside pitch. A lot of times with hitters, we find out that their hip angle and their ability to actually stay flexible with the front leg doesn't allow them to clear enough room to set a good angle to keep that as a fair ball. And Caitlin Bertot able to dump that ball in front of Collins in right field. Looked like Collins pulled up as Burdick went out to retrieve it. One of those plays that just tends to happen when you have a second baseman and right fielder not used to playing with each other. Logan Grotto will now bat. As Bertot takes the bag at second base, it's open. Grotto is a 2015 outfielder out of Trophy Club, Texas. High school teammates of JC Allen, who's currently at third base at Byron Nelson High School. Grotto made her first appearance at the Austin, Texas Regional Showcase on December the 9th. Had a good showing. Hit the ball the other way really good in batting practice and took really good swings in games too. As you see with her swing, the front leg remains flexed the entire time and really creates a hip angle towards right field. So part of her game is hitting the ball up the middle and hitting the ball the other way. If she's able to do that here, she has good enough speed at third base where she might be able to score Allen on a ground ball in this situation. And a good job of JC Allen there. Was never really checked at third base. So she just continued moving towards home plate, able to show enough speed to get the job done there. Keely Thompson will step in for the Teal team. Thompson, a 2016 pitcher out of Texas City. As Bertot's able to put the Teal team up 2-0 here in the bottom of the second. Pretty good tag by Creasel there too. Good positioning by Creasel, able to get there to straddle the plate in that situation. Creasel's done this all day. She showed really good fielding instincts. And again, that goes back to the fact that you're just as likely to see Creasel go on to the next level as a pitcher as you are at first base. And that'll be the interesting story on her over the next 2 or 3 years to see where she really applies herself and is able to really take hold as a prospect as either a pitcher or a first baseman. Right now, whether it be a first baseman or a pitcher, Creasel's top 2 tools are hitting for average and hitting for power. 2-1 to Thompson. You'll be able to see Thompson pitch a little bit later today. You'll also see her in the outfield. She's not traditionally an outfielder, but she'll play a little outfield today. Just out of the reach of Brianna Davis in left field. Creasel having a little bit more success on the inside half of the plate today. And an outstanding play by Miranda Holguin in that situation. She's really on a do or die right there. If that ball bounces, I don't think she's got enough time to get up and throw Thompson out going to first base, but good choice there, because who knows what type of spin that ball is going to have if it lands. And again, it's going to kill her momentum going towards first base. I'm not sure she would have enough time to pick it up and get Thompson going down the first base in that situation. Ball just not hit hard enough for that. Vanessa Castro, your batter. Castro wearing number 12 today, out of Austin, Texas. A 2015 pitcher. And Creasel goes back inside, and we're through the bottom of the second. We'll head to the top of the third, as Kaylin Bertot will be on to pitch for the Teal team. Bertot's out of League City, Texas. '14 pitcher and first baseman, attends Clear Creek High School. And Miranda Holguin, who made the outstanding play at shortstop. In the bottom of the second, will lead it off here for the red team. Bertot will have the ability to run the ball into a right-handed hitter. Pretty good drop ball. Going to the curveball early against Holguin. That'll bring Cynthia Hoff to the plate. Hoff again demonstrating the ability to hit the ball down in the zone very well. That's something we talked about earlier in game number 1. But Hoff really does an exceptional job of hitting the ball down in the zone. We really do expect Hoff to be able to put up considerable more power in the coming years when she's able to add the lower half into it. Brianna Davis now up for the red team. 2015 outfielder out of Sugar Land, Texas. Attended the Houston Regional Showcase. And as a reminder to coaches that are watching, if you're interested in a player that you're seeing right now, all you have to do is click on their name on the roster and their personal report with any historical video, which could include in some cases 3 or 4 different videos, so you can see a progression of how a kid has improved over the last year or 2. You can have access to that. Make sure you read the instructions before you click on a name. Depending on if you're on a PC or a Mac, if you hit Control or Command before you click on a name, it will pop it up in a new window so you don't lose your video player. Probably the easiest thing for coaches to do is have a window where the video plays with the roster and minimize that to the point where you can have reports going on the right side or left side. You'll want to make sure that you have the video playing in high definition. You can maximize the video to full screen, it will still look good. And with one away, Alexis Nixon will step in at the plate. Alexis led it off for the red team this game, as her spot was due up in the order as red finished game number 1. And this should be a pretty interesting matchup with Nixon and Bertot. Bertot really throws what Nixon can really sit on at the plate. And she hits that ball hard right there too. I think the ball got on Springfield a little bit quicker than she was expecting too. But that's what Nixon does. When I talked about Bertot pitching to Nixon's strength, Nixon's just up at the plate trying to hit a hard ground ball or hit a line drive to the middle or right side of the infield. And as Bertot's trying to backdoor the curve and drop, that plays right into the favor of Nixon, who's not trying to do too much with it. A lot of times what hitters have to do against a good drop ball pitcher is really refine the approach. And back to the drop ball, a lot of times what we see young hitters try to do is do way too much with the ball that's down and away. They don't have confidence in their ability to drive the ball the other way after a right-handed hitter versus a lefty trying to backdoor. And so they remain with the approach where they're really trying to lift a lot because it's all they know how to do. Nixon's the exception in that situation where she just drives the ball back to the right side with good results. And on the play on the ground ball back to Bertot, one of the things that we try to talk about in reports all the times for players, and this is a good one for players to hear, is how many arm angles are you able to throw from? Now, we're not encouraging players to grow up throwing sidearm their entire life, but the reason that play was difficult on Berman on the throw from Bertot was that she went straight over the top with it. And when you're 25 or 30 feet away from your target and your release point somewhere 6.5 feet, and they're trying to make a throw to your chest, which is about 4.5 feet off the ground, that's a very steep plane. And it doesn't give the catcher a lot of opportunity to go up and down, because in that situation, your target is going to be a little bit more mobile and ready to move laterally left and right versus up and down. So that's why we encourage players to show us multiple arm angles, being able to throw from over the top if you're making a long throw. If you're making a shorter throw, you can go 3/4 or sidearm, so that you can put a little touch on the ball. And a lot of times when you're dropping down, you can lead a target off the bag into their next throw, so that helps considerably. It's not a bad thing. And in this situation, Caitlin's just got to slow herself down. She pitches best when she's relaxed, like a lot of kids, but part of what makes Bertot effective is staying fluid and staying loose in the circle, and that really causes her ball to jump on hitters a little bit. When she rushes and gets tight, she becomes hittable. It makes a perfect pitch right there to get the second out of the inning. And that'll bring up Melissa Rodriguez, the 2014 outfielder out of San Antonio. Katie Burdick, your runner at third base. And Burdick will hold up at third base in that situation. Really like to see the urgency that Erica Berman's playing with behind the plate in that situation too. And Abby Poe's got it, and that'll take us to the bottom of the third inning. As you see, Abby Poe showing the perfect demonstration of lowering the arm angle to make it easy on someone that's close to you. And Karen Tennis will be back in the circle for the red team. The 2014 pitcher worked 2 scoreless innings in game number 1, made it look just too easy. But Tennis appears to have her good stuff today. Lindsay Taylor will lead it off for the Till team. Taylor's a 2016 shortstop out of Nederland, Texas. Taylor had a much better batting practice session this morning than we saw in Austin. Already looks more relaxed. Something you'll see when you watch Taylor play, she really stays in every pitch extremely well. And Taylor goes out of her strike zone there, or her hitting zone there, but she does handle the ball up in the zone better, so not a bad decision, really. And an easy pickup for Katie Burdick at second base. Your infield this inning is Caroline Collins at third base, Miranda Holguin at short, Katie Burdick at second, Ashley Creasel at first base, as Abby Poe steps in, 2014 out of Kerrville, Texas. Burdick in, up close at second, Creasel back behind the bag at first. We've talked about Cullen's speed a little bit today already, and she's obviously got more than enough speed to cover the short game at third base. And Poe's down on strikes for the second out of the inning. Tennis showing the changeup there. Ryder Reed will step in with 2 outs here in the bottom half of the third inning. Reed, a 2015 outfielder out of Plano, Texas, and Plano High School. And Melissa Rodriguez will have that ball in for the third out. And we'll head to the top of the fourth. Reds still up 3-2. As Caitlin Bertot will be on for her second inning of work when we reach the top of the fourth here for the Till team. Caitlin Bertot on for her second inning of work as Paige Tossie leads it off for the red team. Always interesting to see how the lefty-on-lefty matchups play out for left-handed hitters. Bertot looking a lot more relaxed in her second inning, and that's really been the trend all day for pitchers, that anyone who's escaped their first inning of work without giving up a run has really had to work through that pretty tough. Hannah Parker, the hitter. Defensively, as was the case in the top of the third, J.C. Allen moves to third. Abby Pose at second base this inning. As you get a look at Poe at second base. Mackenzie Jones for the red team. Jones has a hard base hit through the left side of the show today. Might have just missed a good pitch right there, too. That's the ball that we really feel good about Mackenzie hitting right now. Ball just a little bit up, about mid-thigh on the inner half of the plate. And Jones hasn't hit the ball as well as she would like to today. But one thing to pay attention to, and the reason that we brought Jones to Houston from Iowa, is her bat speed. Even in that situation right there, she doesn't connect on a pitch, but her bat speed is very, very obvious. And I think coaches will look at Jones and see a physical type player that's going to be able to swing the bat at the next level with plenty of bat speed. And I think there's just a small adjustment she's going to make on hand path that will allow her to keep the knob above the barrel a little bit longer as she goes through the hitting zone. And that should clean up the issue of being able to adjust up and down as easily as she would like. But Jones does have big time power, really different and noticeable bat speed compared to a lot of other prospects her same age. And so I really feel like Jones is going to hit the ball at the next level. Karen Tennis on for her second inning of work here in Game 2. She's pitched 3 scoreless innings so far. Tennis to this point actually hasn't even given up a base hit, as she'll face Sydney Springfield here with a 1-0 count. Ball does find its way over Rodriguez's head in center field. And again, it's the little things. Miranda Holguin showing up again on a really good relay throw from the center fielder. You see Springfield just slows her bat down just enough to keep that ball in the park. Hits it well enough with Rodriguez, who is playing in center field, to still get over her head, though. Springfield does have well above average speed at third base. She is a threat to score. Even with the outfield playing relatively shallow today with the conditions, she's still going to be able to score on a sac fly to the outfield. And we'll see how Tennis responds to allowing her first base runner of the day into her 4th inning of work, with a tough hitter in Thomas at the plate. Katie Burdick doing an outstanding job that time of making the decision, being decisive. Leads Mackenzie Jones to the third base line, but Jones athletic enough to hold on to the tag. And the reason you see 2 outs here is that Thomas had actually left the field of play and gone into the dugout. We decided to bring her back out so we could have a runner at first base, but there are 2 outs in this situation now. Erica Berman, the hitter. unsigned, 2013, out of Maypearl, Texas. Thomas the runner at first. Karen Tennis currently working on a scoreless 3. And a really good effort there by Katie Burdick to try to run that ball down the right field line. Excellent angle, too. Since we do see so many middle infielders become converted outfielders at the next level, a lot of times it's difficult for a coach to be able to tell what those instincts are going to be because they don't get to see everything they need to on a kid. Right there, we see Burdick makes 2 plays in a row where she's taking good angles and having good reactions to fly balls. And that's the pitch that Tennis has had a lot of success with today. Berman stays on that ball nicely, just doesn't create enough tilt to stay on the Tennis drop ball. As we head to the top of the 5th inning, Keely Thompson will be on the pitch. Thompson, a 2016 out of Texas City, Texas. Makes her way to the Houston National Showcase from the Houston Regional Showcase. Caroline Collins will lead it off for the red team. Collins has already been on base a few times today. Has a couple of hits to show for it. Collins has run the bases extremely well, something we've come to expect from her. Kirsten Thomas underneath that one easily. And Collins again showing up where most players just don't. You don't see most players end up around second base on a pop fly to left field. And it's not like that ball had a ton of hang time that allowed her to get there. But you saw as soon as she hit that ball, she was really on her horse, getting out of the box, trying to see what she could do in case somebody dropped the ball. And as we've seen in the outfield today, there's been a couple of ball mishandled already. And so when she's running, it's not that she's expecting that. It's that she's prepared for that. And so often we see those balls get mishandled and a kid sitting at first base. And our first base umpire takes that steel pole directly into a spine. And the MVP of that play might be the kid in the purple blanket that took off at full speed as soon as that ball got anywhere close to her. I'm curious why we haven't seen that kid at a regional showcase yet. She obviously has pretty good instincts too. That's the same pitch that Thompson got Collins to pull earlier for an out to left field. Umpire nice and loose now, getting out of the way of that one. Lindsey Taylor, the shortstop out of Nederland, Texas. Thompson hangs in there on a Very well hit ball back from Creasel. Creasel has hit the ball hard today, too. The first time we saw Creasel was in January of 2012, as she was finishing up her 8th grade year. Miranda Holguin to step in with 2 outs. And speaking of 8th graders, Holguin, just an 8th grader, out of Cibolo, Texas. Currently playing in the Texas Blaze program. And with Thompson's appearance, the game has suddenly become a little bit more dangerous for any spectators, with a couple of close calls on foul balls down the right field line now. Looks like the changeup took Thompson out of rhythm just a little bit. Brianna Davis will step in for the red team. Davis, a 2015 out of Sugar Land. And that'll do it for our red team here in the top of the 5th. We'll head to the bottom of the 5th. Red still leading 3-2. Hannah Parker back in the circle for the red team here in the bottom of the 5th. J.C. Allen will lead it off. Parker back to work after a solid Game 1 outing. We'll see if Parker and Jones stay away from Allen a little bit this time, after Allen hit the hard double down the left field line. And looks like JC's pretty locked in right now too. Stays on the outside pitch, just trying to drive it the other way. And you know a kid's locked in when they're taking tough pitches like that too. Misses up a little bit with that pitch. Parker may have an argument with that one. Allen showing off the good hitter's instincts. Has a double to show down the left field line. And now is able to come back and work on the entirely opposite side of the plate. He's fouled off a couple of pretty good pitches already in this at bat. And right there, it takes another borderline pitch outside for ball 4. Had 2 really tough pitches in that at bat to lay off of that you probably don't see a lot of kids lay off of. You don't see a lot of 2016 hitters with the ability to foul that ball off and then look for the ball away and have a pretty good idea what's going to be a ball and what's going to be a strike. As Bertot grounds out to first base and Ashley Creasel. One of the things I always walked away with, most impressed with players, is when you'll see a kid really have success pulling the ball, and then in the next at bat, understanding that that's not a pitch you're likely to see again, because too many times we see hitters that want to live and die off of the long ball, that they get a pitch on the inner half or inner third and they drive it down the left field line, and the next at bat is they expect that, or they try to turn the result in anything they see, they try to turn into that same result. So when they start trying to pull the outside pitch and things like that, Allen's showing a really mature approach at the plate of pulling the ball down the left field line and then knowing what she's likely to see. And as we talked about today, the hitters that are going to have success against Parker are the hitters that are not trying to do too much. Grotto's a hitter that's in line to maybe have some success against Parker because she stays on the ball so well to the opposite field. As you see, Grotto lines that ball off to the right side. And what we've seen out of Grotto the 2 times that we've seen her in the last month is that she's going to try to keep the ball on the line. She's not going to try to over-rotate early and pull the ball. One of the things that we watch out for with hitters that hit the ball the other way well is that we don't want it to be because they can't complete rotation of the hips. Sometimes we'll come across hitters that are opposite field hitters for that very reason, because they can't clear the hips to turn on a pitch. The other thing we want to make sure of is that the sequence is still good. Holguin doing a really nice job of continuing to move. Even though Creasel was broke down over the ball, she continues to move. Now the umpire at third here is going to call her out, but the home plate umpire, who had a much different angle than we did, calls obstruction on that play. And Parker takes care of it herself for the 3rd out. As we head to the top of the 6th inning, Keely Thompson back out for her 2nd inning of work. Alexis Nixon will lead it off for the red team. And I'm still very impressed with what Nixon's done today. She's not going to fill up a box score with 4 or 5 hits and a couple of doubles and some RBIs, but she's seen plenty of pitches at the plate. And I've been really impressed as a 2015 with her approach, that she's looking to hit the ball up the middle or the other way, and everything has really worked off of that. She can pull the ball, but she realizes that if she's going to be successful at the upper levels of prep ball and high school ball, that the majority of pitches that she's going to have to work with to put up numbers are going to come middle away. And Nixon's a player too that's come out and really maximized her physical tools and played at the top of her skill set with her instincts. And that's really all we look for in players, is that we establish what the physical skill set might be and how well they can actually use those tools in game situations. As Nixon draws a leadoff walk to start us here in the top of the 6th. Katie Burdick, the batter. 2014 of Altoona, Iowa. And that ball from Springfield just had a little bit of run to it. Springfield does a really good job of changing the arm angle, which we talked a little bit earlier about, is when you change the arm angle, sometimes you can lead a player over the bag into their next throw, which was what she was trying to do. Springfield doesn't see a lot of time at third base, hardly any. But in that play alone, you still see the athletic nature of Springfield and why we're so high on her and have her as a top 20 kid, which is almost impossible to do. Red team up 4-2, top of the 6th. Game number 2 of the Houston National Showcase. The qualification process for a national showcase is fairly simple. We conduct regional showcase events across the United States. Good play by Abby Poe. Nice job from Caitlin Bertot to get rid of the ball. But our regional showcase schedule for 2013 is out right now. At a regional showcase, it's open enrollment events. A lot of those events will take place on college campuses or high schools. At a regional showcase, what we're really concerned about is identifying the physical tools and assigning what we call a scouting index to a player. And that scouting index includes, for position players, it's a combination of your ability to hit for average, hit for power, your ability to run, your arm strength, and your defensive ability. For pitchers, your scouting index is based on your velocity, your command, and your movement. Nice job by Springfield settling into third base now. Only took a couple of outs, 4-2. Good job of getting behind that ball. And the scouting index that we assign to players is basically a college recruiter's way to know exactly where a player fits in at the next level. And so the unique part about what we do at regional showcases and even national showcases is that the scouting index that we assign to a player is essentially a prediction of where they're going to be from a scouting standpoint compared to other players across the country. And the reason we know where players are across the country is that we get out to every major region. We see California kids, Florida kids, Texas, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arizona kids. We see kids from the majority of the 50 states. We make it a point to visit the regions in which players are typically developed and have had success at the collegiate level. And that you have some tools at your disposal if you go check out the rankings on our site. The rankings are basically, without showing the scouting index of players, that the rankings will show you where certain players rank compared to others. And the interesting part about the rankings is that you'll see kids from the Big 12, the Pac-12, the SEC, the ACC. You'll see those kids mixed in with mid-major players, so that you see the scouting index isn't always a measure of how well some kids have been recruited. And a lot of times it's just that kids have started the process a little bit too late. So we head here to the bottom of the 6th inning with Hannah Parker back in the circle for her 2nd inning of work in game number 2. Vanessa Castro will lead it off for the Till team. And the scouting index for a player and a college coach really is what helps a player go through the recruiting process. A lot of times, parents and players, and even coaches to some degree, have the recruiting and the scouting process flipped. A player feels like when they go to a camp or when somebody's watching them play, they're there for the purpose of being recruited. players don't understand that there's a lot of time that goes into formulating an opinion and predicting if you're worth the $200,000 scholarship in the 4 years and the coach's job security. And a lot of times we feel like players take that very lightly, and they feel like if they just go to a camp and a coach watches them play, that coach is going to be blown away and they're going to be recruited out of that. When in fact, that first opportunity is just scouting. Karen Tennis gets the ball across the infield in plenty of time to record the first out of the inning. And we've been lucky enough with our relationships with college coaches that trust our index and understand what all goes into that they're signing kids based off our reports in the scouting index alone, which is always flattering to us, as Lindsey Taylor hits that ball through the right side for a base hit. But that's not the normal situation. The normal situation is that a player has to consistently perform in a scouting environment so that a coach can make a decision to recruit a player or to not recruit a player. And so for the players out there that are watching that are wondering how they get into a national showcase, what you have to understand is that a national showcase is really just another way for scouting to reach any college coach that they want it to. Abby Poe doing a nice job of leaving her hands back and poking that ball through the left side. 2 hard hit balls here to start a little bit of a rally for the Till team. But for players that want to play college softball, the main thing you have to do is get scouted. You have to get scouted often, and you have to make sure that you have good information and the most accurate information about you. The accurate information is good because it helps you figure out what types of programs you should be talking to, and it helps you understand what you need to do to get better, and it also helps you honestly communicate with coaches, because a coach is most likely to come see you when they feel like you're a qualifier athletically and academically. In the regional showcase events, those are open enrollment. That's how we're able to do those at Division I college campuses. And the spring schedule for 2013 is out right now. As we talked about earlier at the regional showcase, the primary focus is to create good video content on you for college coaches to see. And Springfield able to knock in a couple of runs and tie it up at 4-all here in the bottom of the 6th for the Till team. Which brings Kirsten Thomas to the plate with 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th. And at a regional showcase, if players reach a high enough level on the scouting index, that's how they get invited to one of the national showcases that you're watching today. National showcases are invite only, and we only take the top players out of the regional showcase events. We head to the top of the 7th. Vanessa Castro, the new pitcher for the Till team. This will be Castro's first inning of work today. Hannah Parker will lead it off for the red team. So each one of these players started at a regional showcase. They performed at the top of that class, which landed them an invitation to a national showcase. As you're on the website, you can look at regional showcases that essentially show college coaches every single pitch, hit, or throw that took place during the workout at the regional showcase. At the regional showcase, we go through a workout, and then we also play a game in the afternoon. The game is not filmed at the regional showcase because we're just trying to formulate the scouting index for everyone and try to help players see where they rank out at. A national showcase is different. We do take batting practice and line drills, but the filming is done during the games that you're seeing today. And that's probably the best looking swing that Parker's taken on an outside pitch today too. Looked like she was actually on that pitch. You can see she's frustrated she didn't drive it too. For players attending national showcases, there is one more step they can achieve that's only available to 48 players. And that ball mishandled in the outfield. Seen that a few times today. Mackenzie Jones will step in for the red team. They're in the top of the 7th. Hannah Parker on at first base. Vanessa Castro, the new pitcher. Berman still handling the catching duties. And again, Mackenzie Jones is frustrated at the plate right now, but really and truly for a young player, she's showing what she needs to show, and that's bat speed on every swing. She's swinging at pitches in the zone, and she's showing bat speed. The one thing that she has working against her is as her bat's in the hitting zone, she just takes the knob down a little bit, and that works the bat back up over the ball, which means she can handle the ball up in the zone, but it's making it a little bit tougher to hit anything that has any sort of downplane to it. And we're talking if the ball has a 2 or 3 degree arc, which is pretty common, that's going to be a pitch right now that gives Jones a little bit of trouble. And she fouls that ball right back into her face mask. So for players wondering why you have to wear the face mask, well, there you go. To go back to the point about advancing beyond the national showcase, currently there are 4 national showcase events. Houston's our first one. The 3 remaining national showcases all take place in June of next year, in 2013, in Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta. Those are invitation only for players that have advanced from regional showcase events. After the national showcase, there are 48 players of the 200-plus kids that are able to play in a national showcase throughout the year. At a national showcase, there are 60 spots available. And this year, there'll be 210 players that compete at national showcases. And from that, we'll take the top 48 performers at national showcases to our second All-American Games this year in Nashville, Tennessee at Rose Park. That'll be August 9th through 11th. Caroline Cullens at the plate, 1 and 2. Just got a piece of that one. And you can already see with Castro, the ball that she's throwing up in the zone, the rise ball, obviously has enough spin on it that's creating some issues for the right-handed hitters already. I like to use the word different a lot on pitchers as I look at how effective certain pitchers are compared to others. I feel like if a pitcher throws the same pitch to the same location, and Colin's just scrapping her way on that pitch about mid-shin high there to drive it back through the middle of the infield for a base hit. But pitchers are typically successful if they throw a pitch that's similar to the majority, but it holds a different plane or it spins a little bit differently. In Castro and velocity that's in the mid-60s, you don't expect a rise ball thrown in the in the mid-50s. You don't see velocity that's thrown in the mid-50s. You don't see a rise ball continue to hold that plane and stay up like Castro's doing. And so it's very difficult for a hitter to see that one time and make an immediate adjustment. Parker and Collins will move up on the wild pitch. And so that's what you saw out of Jones and Collins in the previous at-bats, was the Castro rise ball was staying up. In their minds, they're reading 55, 56, and they're predicting that the ball should drop down because it typically does. An example of that in college ball would be Blair Luna at Texas. That Blair's not somebody that throws 64, 65 miles per hour, but her rise ball holds the plane and holds the spin like a pitch that's thrown that hard. And so when a hitter goes to attack her rise ball, their brain is telling them that historically the ball that starts at this height thrown at this speed will end up here. And Luna just typically has a ball that stays above that spot, and so you see a lot of swings and misses, or a lot of topspin foul balls or backspin foul balls straight back to the screen. And so when I look at pitchers, I'm looking at what makes them different, what makes them challenging to hit. Sometimes the ball that moves the way we think it should is also a pitch that the batter knows is going to move to a certain spot. And so it's very important for coaches and players to look at video on pitchers and say, you're looking for something that makes this pitcher different. A good example of that in our database is looking at the pitcher Brandy Needham. Here's our top overall rated pitcher right now, who's going to the University of Illinois. And a good shot by Creasel there. That'll score 2 runs, put Red up 5-4, 6-4. And Creasel in with a stand-up triple to add on to a double that she had earlier in the day. Good look at a couple power hitters there in Springfield and Creasel. But Brandy Needham's a pitcher that's important for pitchers who come through our program to look at, and important for coaches to look at too. One of the things that makes Needham such a talent is her drop ball. And her drop ball has some of the sharpest bite to it, and it's one of the best 12-6 drop balls that we've ever seen. The other thing that Needham does is that she throws 3 different speeds, and she throws 3 different distinct speeds. And one thing I said a few years ago that I still feel like is holding true is that as hitting improves in softball, you're going to see a lot more 3-speed pitchers than you used to. 5 or 10 years ago, you didn't see a lot of kids, even at the collegiate level, that threw 3 speeds, but you're starting to see that a little bit more now. And we're starting to see the amateur players try to throw 3 speeds, but Needham had it as a sophomore. And the video that you'll watch of Brandy Needham, who's going to Illinois, is as a sophomore, about halfway through her sophomore year in high school. And the pitch to really watch with Needham is watch the drop ball. It's different than other drop balls that you see. It's different than the other pitchers that we see in our system going to places like LSU. It's different. And it's tough for even exceptional hitters at the Division I level, just prime athletes. It's tough for them to react to different for 3 at-bats when their brain has trained them to look at pitches and determine the eventual location of a pitch a certain way for so many years. Different is dangerous if you're a pitcher. So sometimes the sharp movement that you see on pitching videos or in game footage, sometimes you wonder why those kids are getting hit. It's because everybody in the world knows that's what a curveball should look like. Well hit ball there for Holguin. Grotto making the catch and left. Brianna Davis, the hitter. 2 outs for Davis here in the top of the 7th. Red up 6-4. Good looking swing from Davis now. Looks like her timing's starting to come around here in the 2nd game. And to finish the point on pitching there is that you have to rely on reports and good objective data on players, because a lot of times what looks good on video is something that it's a little bit easier to hit. Like I said, a lot of times we see players and coaches that watch videos and think, yeah, that's what a curveball should look like. And the trick there is that everybody in the world knows that's what it looks like, so anybody can hit it. So we look for something a little bit different that's going to challenge the hitter's computer or their brain on where it thinks pitches are going. If we can disrupt that process, then we can be successful. Hannah Parker will finish things off here in the bottom of the 7th of Game 2. Erica Berman will lead it off for the Till team. Berman, the only senior participating in the National Showcase today. Berman does play outfield. Did not play outfield today, though. Nice looking play on the run from Brianna Davis in right field. Really did a nice job of attacking the ball as soon as it was hit. Saw good communication from Davis to Burdick. Burdick again shows the ability to go back on a ball. One of the things you have to like about what Burdick does, when the ball's in the air, she makes a strong move and she gets to full speed with her back to the plate. The single hardest thing for us to find from players defensively with defensive players is the ability to turn the back to the plate as they're running after a fly ball. They want to stay on the ball and prevent their hips and shoulders from turning and getting to a good angle. So when I see a player like Burdick as an infielder just naturally make that turn and run back, it's something to take note of. It's a good job by Nixon there of hanging in there on that rundown. Jones gave her about 3 or 4 pump fakes, but Nixon hung in there and did her job. The discussion that's taking place here is the umpire asking us if we want to send the runner, apparently the runner Grotto, past Allen at second base, but for the purpose of scouting versus the purpose of winning a game, and we'd rather see a runner at first and second base in this situation. And the runner would be Bertot, not Grotto. Grotto is your batter now. And the reason that particular pitch is tough for Grotto to pull the trigger on, if you watch her barrel, the barrel gets flat and laid off behind her quite a bit during the stride. And so the ball that's down and away, she feels that's a tough pitch to hit because it's very unnatural for her body to do that. She can leave her barrel angle up a little bit more, keep it vertical, she'll be able to hit the ball low and outside considerably better. Right now, she's having to wait for Parker to elevate something to get a good piece of it. And that pitch right there is probably her best chance with Parker's stuff versus what her swing allows her to do against those types of pitches. Keely Thompson, the batter here, with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th in Game 2 of the Houston National Showcase. This is the second and final game for our red team. Allen the runner at second, Bertot the runner at first. So important for Parker to remain in rhythm. When she pitches in rhythm, she's almost unhittable sometimes. And fittingly, Parker will end it with the changeup. The final in Game 2, red 6, Till 4. Just a reminder that Game 3 is online as well. Thanks for watching Game 2 from the Houston National Showcase.